The life and sad ending of David Bowie. David Bowie was born David Robert Jones on 8 January 1947, in London, England. David Jones began performing music when he was 13 years old, learning the saxophone while he was at Bromley Technical High School. Another pivotal event happened at the school when his left pupil became permanently dilated in a schoolyard fight. Following his graduation at 16, he worked as a commercial artist while playing saxophone in a number of mod bands, including the King Bees, the Manish Boys, and Davy Jones and the Lower Third. All three of those bands released singles, which were generally ignored, yet he continued performing, changing his name to David Bowie in 1966 after the Monkees' Davy Jones became an international star. Over the course of 1966, he released 3 mod singles on Pi Records, which were all ignored. The following year, he signed with DRAM, releasing the music hall. Anthony Newley styled David Bowie that year. Upon completing the record, he spent several weeks in a Scottish Buddhist monastery. Once he left the monastery, he studied with Lindsay Kemp's mime troupe, forming his own mime company, The Feathers, in 1969. The Feathers were short-lived, and he formed the experimental art group Beckenham Arts Lab in 1969. Bowie needed to finance the Arts Lab, so he signed with Mercury Records that year and released Man of Words, Man of Music, a trippy singer-songwriter album featuring Space Oddity. The song was released as a single and became a major hit in the UK, convincing Bowie to concentrate on music. Hooking up with his old friend Mark Bolan, he began miming at some of Bolan's T. Rex concerts, eventually touring with Bolan, bassist-producer Tony Visconti, guitarist Mick Ronson, and drummer Cambridge as hype. The band quickly fell apart, yet Bowie and Ronson remained close, working on the material that formed Bowie's next album, The Man Who Sold the World, as well as recruiting Michael Woody Woodmansey as their drummer. Produced by Tony Visconti, who also played bass, The Man Who Sold the World was a heavy guitar rock album that failed to gain much attention. Bowie followed the album in late 1971 with the pop-rock Hunky Dory, an album that featured Ronson and keyboardist Rick Wakeman. Following its release, Bowie began to develop his most famous incarnation, Ziggy Stardust, an androgynous, bisexual rock star from another planet. Before he unveiled Ziggy, Bowie claimed in a January 1972 interview with Melody Maker that he was gay, helping to stir interest in his forthcoming album. Taking cues from Bolan's stylish glam rock, Bowie dyed his hair orange and began wearing women's clothing. He called himself Ziggy Stardust, and his backing band Ronson, Woodmansey, and bassist Trevor Bolder were the Spiders from Mars. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was released with much fanfare in England in late 1972. The album and its lavish, theatrical concerts became a sensation throughout England and helped him become the only glam rocker to carve out a niche in America. Ziggy Stardust became a word-of-mouth hit in the US, and the re-released Space Oddity, which was now also the title of the re-released Man of Words, Man of Music, reached the American Top 20. Bowie quickly followed Ziggy with Aladdin Sane later in 1973. Not only did he record a new album that year, but he also produced Lou Reed's Transformer, The Stooges' Raw Power, and Mott the Hoople's comeback All the Young Dudes, for which he also wrote the title track. Given the amount of work Bowie packed into 1972 and 1973, it wasn't surprising that his relentless schedule began to catch up with him. After recording the all-covers pin-ups with the Spiders from Mars, he unexpectedly announced the band's breakup, as well as his retirement from live performances, during the group's final show that year. He retreated from the spotlight to work on a musical adaptation of George Orwell's 1984, but once he was denied the rights to the novel, he transformed the work into Diamond Dogs. The album was released to generally poor reviews in 1974, yet it generated the hit single Rebel Rebel, and he supported the album with an elaborate and expensive American tour. As the tour progressed, Bowie became fascinated with soul music, eventually redesigning the entire show to reflect his new plastic soul. Hiring guitarist Carlos Alomar as the band's leader, Bowie refashioned his group into a Philly soul band and costumed himself in sophisticated, stylish fashions. The change took fans by surprise, as did the double album David Live, which featured material recorded on the 1974 tour. Young Americans, released in 1975, was the culmination of Bowie's soul obsession, and it became his first major crossover hit, peaking in the American Top 10 and generating his first U.S. #1 hit in Fame, a song he co-wrote with John Lennon and Alomar. Bowie relocated to Los Angeles, where he earned his first movie role in Nicholas Roeg's The Man Who Fell to Earth. While in L.A., he recorded Station to Station, which took the plastic soul of Young Americans into darker, avant-garde tinged directions, but it was also a huge hit, generating the top 10 single Golden Years. The album inaugurated Bowie's persona of the elegant thin white duke, and it reflected Bowie's growing cocaine-fueled paranoia. Soon, he decided Los Angeles was too boring and returned to England. Shortly after arriving back in London, he gave the awaiting crowd a Nazi salute, a signal of his growing, drug-addled detachment from reality. The incident caused enormous controversy, and Bowie left the country to settle in Berlin, where he lived and worked with Brian Eno. Once in Berlin, Bowie sobered up and began painting, as well as studying art. He also developed a fascination with German electronic music, which Eno helped him fulfill on their first album together, Low. Released early in 1977, Low was a startling mixture of electronics, pop, and avant-garde techniques. While it was greeted with mixed reviews at the time, it proved to be one of the most influential albums of the late 70s, as did its follow-up, Heroes, which followed that year. Not only did Bowie record 2 solo albums in 1977, but he also helmed Iggy Pop's comeback records The Idiot and Lust for Life, and toured anonymously as Pop's keyboardist. He resumed his acting career in 1977, appearing in Just a Gigolo with Marlene Dietrich and Kim Novak, as well as narrating Eugene Ormandy's version of Peter and the Wolf. Bowie returned to the stage in 1978, launching an international tour that was captured on the double album stage. In 1979, Bowie and Eno recorded Lodger in New York, Switzerland, and Berlin, releasing the album at the end of the year. Lodger was supported with several innovative videos, as was 1980's Scary Monsters, and these videos' DJ, Fashion, Ashes to Ashes became staples on early MTV. Scary Monsters was Bowie's last album for RCA, and it wrapped up his most innovative, productive period. Later in 1980, he performed the title role in the stage production of The Elephant Man, including several shows on Broadway. Over the next 2 years, he took an extended break from recording, appearing in Christiane F. and the vampire movie The Hunger, returning to the studio only for his 1981 collaboration with Queen, Under Pressure, and the theme for Paul Schrader's remake of Cat People. In 1983, he signed an expensive contract with EMI Records and released Let's Dance. Bowie had recruited Chic guitarist Nile Rodgers to produce the album, giving the record a sleek, funky foundation, and hired the unknown Stevie Ray Vaughan as lead guitarist. Let's Dance became his most successful record, thanks to its stylish, innovative videos for Let's Dance and China Girl, which turned both songs into top 10 hits. Bowie supported the record with the sold-out arena tour Serious Moonlight. Greeted with massive success for the first time, Bowie wasn't quite sure how to react, and he eventually decided to replicate Let's Dance with 1984's Tonight. While the album sold well, producing the top 10 hit Blue Jean, it received poor reviews and was ultimately a commercial disappointment. He stalled in 1985, recording a duet of Martha and the Vandellas dancing in the street with Mick Jagger for Live Aid. He also spent more time jet-setting, appearing at celebrity events across the globe, and appeared in several movies, Into the Night, Absolute Beginners, Labyrinth that turned out to be bombed. Bowie returned to recording in 1987 with the widely panned Never Let Me Down, supporting the album with the Glass Spider Tour, which also received poor reviews. In 1989, he remastered his RCA catalog with Rykodisc for CD release, kicking off the series with the 3-disc box Sound Vision. Bowie supported the discs with an accompanying tour of the same name, claiming that he was retiring all of his older characters from performance following the tour. Sound Vision was successful, and Ziggy Stardust recharted amidst the hoopla. Bowie returned to a solo career in 1993 with the sophisticated, soulful Black Tie White Noise, recording the album with Nile Rodgers and his by-then permanent collaborator, Reeves Gabrels. The album was released on Savage, a subsidiary of RCA, and received positive reviews, but his new label went bankrupt shortly after its release, and the album disappeared. Black Tie White Noise was the first indication that Bowie was trying hard to resuscitate his career, as was the largely instrumental 1994 soundtrack The Buddha of Suburbia. The following year, Bowie released a new compilation called Nothing Has Changed, which featured the new song Sue, or In a Season of Crime. This song turned out to be the cornerstone of Bowie's next project, Blackstar. Arriving on January 8, 2016, the album found Bowie re-teaming with Tony Visconti and exploring the adventurous territory, as signaled by its lead single, Blackstar. Just 2 days after its release, it was announced that David Bowie had died from liver cancer. In a Facebook post, Tony Visconti revealed that Bowie knew of his illness for at least 18 months and created Blackstar as his parting gift. On 10 January 2016, 2 days after his 69th birthday and the release of the album Blackstar, Bowie died of liver cancer in his New York City apartment.